Welcome to High Road to You, and this is Mark Stofer. I am on day 4 now, and this is the 1,000 day challenge. And ultimately, what I'm trying to do is really transform my life. I was starting to drift. I'm in business. I'm in the pet care industry. I acquire pet facilities, and I turn them into resorts. And what I am trying to do, my ultimate goal is to provide more compensation than anybody in the industry, in the entire history of the industry. That's what my vision is. And within the pet care industry, it's not just sustainable during a crisis, which we experienced. I bought 2 facilities in December of 2019, just before the crisis, and that was pretty intense. We shut down because I didn't know if pets were contributing to the crisis, if they were transferring this COVID. And I decided I didn't want to, be responsible for people being in the hospital, customers and employees. So I shut it down. But the banks were calling, and I had these hard money loans, these bridge loans. And it's really difficult to get financing in the pet care industry. And so, I had to play hardball with these legal departments, stating that I didn't have a conventional loan and they weren't held to the same, responsibilities that, other banks, traditional banks were required by government law at that time. So I just said, hey, you want to be in front of the camera when they show up and we're trying to explain why, we have employees in the hospital, or, I'm not going to make a dollar to stay open, and, you're going to have to work with me, basically. And that was the negotiation. There was letters that came out, real threatening letters. In fact, it was a private money loan that my cousin's boyfriend that kind of put all this together. And I called him and I said, hey, this is unprecedented, but we may have to file bankruptcy, but they're not going to get the farm, and we have to work through this. And I said, I'm not one to put my head in the sand or ignore things. I'm actively involved with working with these banks and being very proactive. So, and there was letters that went out, because after I talked to these banks, said, okay, we're going to work together through this. We're going to defer payments. They were working with us. And then the letters went out, and it was really threatening. I mean, like, we're going to take your house. He had took out a loan on his house for this investment. And my cousin called freaking out, and I said, settle down. Are they knocking at the door? Are they asking you to leave the premises? If you can imagine this, just, calm down. So I'd gone through, the dot-com crash, and then the 2008, economic crisis. And, I got all these calls, and, I stopped paying our mortgage in 2008. And these subprime loans were sold through all these different banks, and every time they'd call me and say, foreclosure's imminent, we're coming, and I said, come and get it, and take it off my hands. And you can have the erosion issues on this property, you can have the water issues on this property, you can have all these things. And I would send them all this documentation, and I said, whoever is going to buy this or take responsibility for this property, this house, they have to take everything that comes with it. So I never filled out the modification loan applications. I felt like it's none of your business. You financially raped us and flooded the market with subprime loans. Basically anybody had a pulse, you gave them a loan, and you financially raped people that were responsible and accountable. And I had good credit. I had no other bills other than this mortgage, and I built the house myself. And how would the value of the cost to me be? The value of the house be lower than my cost building it out. And so I didn't realize how bad it was, but I learned very quickly. I knew it was going to be bad, but I didn't know it was going to be that bad. But I kept telling these negotiators, they'd send these certified letters, and I would never pick up the mail. I said, if you want to send me something, send it to me personally at my house, have a courier service, but I'm not going to spend a penny spending money on gas to go to the post office to pick up all this certified mail and fill out all these forms. And what I make and how I operate is none of your business. But what I would send is all these disclosures of the water test not meeting code, county code, the water tank that was dilapidated going to fall apart, and the cost that it was going to take to fix it, the erosion that we had on the property, and the homeowners insurance claims that were filed by the neighbor, and all of these kind of things that, they would have to disclose. So I even ended up at the courthouse steps, and they were going to auction my house off, and I brought the file with all these disclosures, and I said, whoever's going to be, responsible for this property, you better look at this file, because you're going to be you're basically writing a blank check. Now, that worked out because I ended up buying my house back through a private money lender, and I didn't pay, the bank for 2 years as it went through all these different banks and owners. But I will tell you this, just so you understand the dynamics of how to be shrewd in this world that we live in, and not be taken advantage of. And that is that when I called the bank that I got my mortgage through, the CEO resigned just before the FDIC shut him down. Now, what I learned was that family was a family of bankers, right? And they flooded the market with subprime loans. And then there was $987 million worth of notes that were, acquired essentially by the FDIC that shut them down. And because they didn't have the assets to service those loan obligations. So they shut them down, and then they auctioned them off for $64 million. That's less than 10 cents on the dollar. So in my mind, what they did is they flooded the market, made billions of dollars, and then they jumped on the other side of the fence and bought real estate for pennies on the dollar at the auction. So that's how the game is played. And if you think about how subtle this was back in Carter time, he was deregulating banks, and just to compete in the world quote unquote market. And when you deregulate banks, they're allowed to give anybody a loan that has a pulse. So that, based on their claimed income. So I know, if you watch Smartest Man in the Room and you watch these documentaries on Netflix, it's pretty clear how all this mess happened, right? There was no foundation. It was a false economy when people are pulling equity out of their real estate and buying other rental properties and, trying to leverage their money into these, real estate investments. That's just, a house of cards. There's no foundation. So in that context of how the game is played, you have to be shrewd enough to see it for what it is, right? You have to realize too that there was all these organizations were set up to help you, refinance or whatever, and I realized that they were orchestrated by the banks. Supposedly there are these organizations that are going to help you with your finances and renegotiate with the banks if you're in foreclosure process. The modification loans, that's what it is, modification loans. And they were like, come in and we have the team that's going to help you modify your loans. We're going to negotiate on your behalf with the bank. And then you realize, well, you work for the bank, so they're going to do this add-on interest and all this money that you didn't pay, and then the interest, and they're going to say, oh, that you had a 30-year loan, we're going to make it a 45-year loan, and then they extend all this additional money and interest and penalties to the loan, and then you're further in the hole. You're further in the hole, extended out to a larger period of time. So I'm like, and I remember telling these guys when I started working with them, I go, does that make sense to you? Does it really, literally, does it make sense to you what you're proposing that is the solution to my problem? That doesn't work out for me, it works out for them, right? They financially raped us, and now I'm going to give them more money over a longer period of time. So bottom line, you have to see it for what it is. You have to see through the bullshit. So that's how it worked in my situation. Now I'm in the pet care industry, and during the crisis, the same situation happened. But I said, hey, you're going to defer payments, and then when we open back up, once we realize that FDIC confirms that, not the FDIC, but CDC confirms that pets don't contribute to this crisis and nobody's dying because we're open for business, then we'll open back up and we'll, be back in business. And you're not getting the farm in the meantime. I have a lot of time, and I have a lot of options to prevent that from happening. And if I had to file bankruptcy, then that's what I would do. And I had my partner on board with that, because worst case scenario, right? So we reversed engineer our approach. And one of the things that we did was we sent out press release once we opened back up that we were going to be available for first responders and essential workers, and we offered 24/7 drop-off, and it went viral. And then if you recall, during the crisis, that all the humane societies were emptied, like nationwide. It was in a story of USA Today. And so there was all this new pet ownership, so that expanded the market, if you will, for this industry that we are providing for. So now, fast forward, we're doing quite well. The challenge is finishing these resorts, something that should take, say, 6 to 8 months maximum. We're going in like over 3 years now. I gave a deposit to a contractor, and a year and a half later, I was threatening to take his license. Like, you can't take a deposit, like $60,000, and then not show up and keep, blowing us off, saying, we're going to be out there next month, and we can work in the snow, and all that stuff is, and then just having to, anticipate that they're going to show up with the equipment, show up with the crew, and get the job done. And, they're no show, then, nobody wants to work, we're short-staffed, and we're overbooked. And then material supply chain, the material's not here that we need. And then there was material inflation, and all of these things come into play. And so now it's like the dust has settled, and things are leveling out as far as what makes sense. So to give you an example, we were getting bids for the turf installation at like $90,000. And I said, there is no way I'm going to pay somebody $90,000. I know what the job is. I said, we'll do it ourselves, and my kids and I, we can do the work. We're operators. We can do the work. We wouldn't look forward to it because we don't do that day in and day out. But we can do it. And then what happened was, my son just kept calling, and pretty soon we got a price at $32,000. And I'm like, okay, sign, let's do it. And these guys came out with beautiful, equipment, and they were real professional, good crew. And now they're doing this job now, and it's $32,000. So we went from $90,000 to $32,000. So this is the disparity in, what has taken place over the last just few months while I'm making this video, and then to see them do the work and see that they're extremely professionals. They're synchronizing the crew. You can tell that it's a crew that's synchronizing, and they're getting the job done. And they've given a deposit, and then I'm giving them I'm paying them with a smile on my face. I'm so excited that I want to work with them on other projects. So they will be our go-to company, the way it looks now. So with that, what my goal is now, full circle, is I'm on this 1,000-day program where I'm jotting down my priorities. And what I was doing is I was drifting. Okay, and I love to cycle. I love the social aspect of the groups I'm involved with. If it's hiking, or if it's cycling group, or if it's getting in the surf and the lineup. But when I'm not doing that, and we're all navigating to say a restaurant, or wherever we go, it's alcohol. It's like you want a beer, and it's like a celebration all the time. And then I realized that I was gaining weight, and I was just not feeling it. I mean, I drink now, and it bothers me the next day. If I'm going to do anything, I can feel it, and I don't like the way it feels. So I just decided, I don't need it. Now, if I go out once in a great while and feel like, it's a good time to have a glass of wine or beer or whatever, I'm not going to be legalistic about it. But I want you to know that my commitment is this, is that if I'm going to be involved in this industry, and I am going to make a difference in the lives of people that come in as a kennel tech, cleaning crates, and bottom of the barrel, and then they can work their way up through the ranks to be assistant manager and a manager, and all my facilities are self-run, and we create this amazing culture. And that was a challenge too, because we went through like 37 people to get 3 to actually show up. I mean, nobody wanted to work. I was looking for parts, and I go to the parts department, in town for my fifth wheel trailer, and it's like parts department closed due to labor shortage. I'm like, what? So we have people that show up and actually do the job, and there's a beautiful company culture that takes place. And outside of that, we got voted, in 4 categories, best of Reno, and they get to go out to these events and dress up and be proud of the work that they do. And outside of that, they go out and do things, and they might go skydiving or rock climbing, or they go out into town and they enjoy each other's company outside of work, and that's beyond precious. But now, taking it to another level, if I can be in this industry and make an impact in the lives of people that come in as a kennel tech, cleaning crates, and they can eventually have an ownership stake in the business and the acquisitions in the future. I have brokers calling me saying, hey, we have this facility for sale, and I said, we're not ready yet. We're going to finish the resorts that we have now, and then we'll consider acquisition. But now I'm working with a team of people, and so I'm lining up all the ducks. I'm crossing the T's, dotting the I's to make that a reality. And I truly want to be the In-N-Out Burger of the pet care industry, or the Starbucks of the pet industry, and have a franchise business model. And I think about the commercial of Domino's Pizza. I was a pizza delivery person. Now I own 3 franchises. That is really impressive. And I realize too that a lot of our employees, that they'll leave from working with us, and I gotta make more money at the fast food, and I go, yeah, but you got to work at the fast food. And I don't say that to them. I mean, I think that, but I talk to my staff or my kids about that and say, you know what? They don't realize that there's a ceiling, but what we're offering is something more than that. We're offering a career in this industry. We just have to get it back on track now that things are turning around and people actually want to work. And material is priced according to what it should be, and the contractors are coming in with prices that make sense, and they're not 5 times what it should cost. So with that, we're lining things up to become a formal acquisition company in this industry that we know very well, and our track record is acquiring facilities and growing them exponentially, triple digit to full capacity, and then again looking for the next facility that we would be involved in, and then promote from within, and then have people that come up through the ranks and are vetted and have put in the time and have proven themselves to be accountable to show up on time and show up consistently. Then they deserve that opportunity. And with that, I have several now that came up through the ranks. My kids being one of my sons now runs a facility. He's 50% over. My owner, my daughter 30% owner, and another friend of mine who came in basically homeless, living out of his car. He's a 40% owner in a facility because he helped us build out these facilities as a contractor. And so I see that it's a great vehicle to make that happen. So that's where I'm at. This is my commitment. So that's how I think we should all approach life in that regard, where we're not drifting, that we have a vision, and that we have a priority list towards that goal, and we surround ourselves with people that are accountable, and that we don't have to hold their hand to walk across the street. I can't afford to babysit grown-ups, and accountability is everything, not only to ourselves but to others as well, and holding others accountable. So it's boundaries and love in that regard. So is how far this can go in 1,000 days, and how close I will come to the vision that I have to make it all come together and make it a reality. So with that, I hope this resonates with you in some way and inspires and encourages you to take necessary actions in your life. And with that, I will keep you posted.